that time of year again, folks, and by that I mean it's time to get spooky. Hello everybody, my name is Danny, welcome back to my channel, and welcome to another book recommendations video. I actually have twice the amount of recommendations that I normally do in one of these videos, because I just love spooky season and spooky books so much that I couldn't narrow it down any further. But I did break this list down into 3 different categories. The first is books by Neil Gaiman, because we know I love Neil Gaiman and he's very good at writing spooky books. The second is books about zombies, because zombies are my favorite paranormal creature and I just love these books so much. And the third is other spooky books. So there are 3 Neil Gaiman books, 3 zombie books, and 4 other spooky books on this list. And because I have so many to talk about, let's just cut the chase and get right to it. So the very first Neil Gaiman book on my list is Neverwhere, and I have this gorgeous illustrated edition that I got secondhand. And this book follows a man named Richard after he gets swept into the politics and magic of the London below after he finds a girl named Dor, bloody and weak on the side of the road, and he helps her out. So this is a very strange and dark book, and I think it is perfect for this time of year where the days are getting shorter and the nights are getting longer. Next up is the classic spooky Neil Gaiman book, Coraline. If you haven't read this book, what are you doing? If you haven't seen the movie, what are you doing? The movie's fantastic as well, even though it takes some creative liberties and doesn't quite follow the storyline. This book is just so good. It's super short. You could probably read it in one sitting. Recommend it at night to get those full-on spooky vibes. But yeah, this book is so strange. It's a portal fantasy, and it follows the main character Coraline after she moves to a new home and finds a door that shouldn't lead anywhere, but it does. And then the last Neil Gaiman recommendation on this list is the Graveyard book. This is about a boy who was raised by ghosts in a graveyard, and it's meant for a young middle grade audience, but I didn't read it for the first time until I was in high school. Well, I read it as a child, but I didn't remember reading it, and then I thought I read it for the first time in high school, but I was wrong. That's a thing with me, apparently. I read books thinking it's the first time, and then I'm like, actually, this is extremely familiar. Anyway, this is a very good book. It's meant for younger audiences, but I really enjoyed it as a teenager, and I still enjoy it as an adult. Moving on to the second category of zombie books, we have Dreadnation by Justina Ireland. And this is a historical fantasy book, so if that's your vibe, definitely pick this up. It's got a very shiny cover. But yes, this takes place post-Civil War, and the main character goes to a school to learn how to fight zombies, and a whole lot of stuff happens. I'm definitely due for a reread. It's been over a year since I've read this, and I keep saying that I'm gonna buy the sequel because I want it so bad. It's the first in a duology. And I think this spooky season is the time I'm finally going to get my hands on that, and then I'm going to read both of them back to back. Then we have The Bone Houses by Emily Lloyd Jones, and you're going to hear me talk about this book a lot because it was a very recent read, and it was an instant favorite of mine. I absolutely adore this book. It ties fae stories and inspiration in with the zombie origin story. It's got amazing disability rep. Look at this gorgeous cover. This was definitely a cover buy, and I'm so glad I picked it up because the content outshines the cover a million times, and the cover itself is beautiful, so this is just an absolutely wonderful book. And if you're looking for a zombie book that is more goofy than scary, then Paranorman is the book for you. It's a short read, it's very quick because it's middle grade, and it's just so funny. It's about this man, this boy named Norman, and he can see ghosts and no one else can, and then one day zombies show up and he and his family and friends have to fight them and figure out why they were showing up and get rid of them. And this also has a really good movie adaptation. I actually saw the movie before I read the book, and then I read the book and I'm like, wow, that's actually a very good adaptation, and they're just both so, so good. And finally, we come to my miscellaneous spooky category, and the first book on that list is A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness, and this book will break your heart because it covers some really heavy topics, but it's so beautifully written, and the illustrations inside are absolutely gorgeous. Let me see if I can find one for you. Like, look at this. It's probably not showing up on camera very well, but it's just stunning. And this follows a boy, I think his name is Connor if I remember correctly, and suddenly a monster shows up one night and they tell each other stories. It's very simple but profound. The next recommendation is one where I also love the movie and saw the movie before I read the book, and that is Practical Magic by Alice Hoffman. And the movie is not quite an accurate adaptation, but it's still really good and I love it. It stars Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock, and they play sisters and they're witches, and it's kind of a coming of age story. In the book, it's more of a generational thing and it shows some of their children, and it's just really cute, and the magic in it is really interesting, and it's definitely something I consider a Halloween classic and think people should pick up this time of year. Then we come to an actually pretty scary book, and that is Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant. If you didn't know, Mira Grant is the pen name for Seanan McGuire, who wrote the Wayward Children series, among many other things. So if you like her writing, you're gonna like Mira Grant because they're the same person. This is about killer mermaids, and it has queer rep and disability rep, and it delves into the sciencey side of things, which I found super fascinating, and it's just an actually scary book. There's not a lot of horror that I actually find scary when I'm reading it, but this one definitely did. And last but most definitely not least, we have one of the OG monster stories, and that is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. How could I not include this book on my list? I know that everyone knows the basic story of Frankenstein. You know, you have Victor, and he creates a monster, and then realizes it's a monster, and gets scared, and then the monster hunts him down. But I feel like you actually have to read the original book in order to really understand the story. And I've seen some movie adaptations and stuff, and they do great jobs, but like, I don't think they compare to the book. This book is so, so good, and I am not really one for classics, but this is one that I cannot recommend highly enough. And if I can actually lift this up, this is the giant stack of book recommendations for spooky season. They are all fantastic, and I'm going to put them down because they're all apparently very heavy, and I just cannot recommend them highly enough. They are so good. Some of my favorite books are on this list, so definitely check them out if they seem interesting to you. Let me know down in the comments if any of these books are some of your favorites, or if there's a spooky time classic that you think I should read. I would love to hear about it. Be sure to give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and then you can subscribe to my channel for more content. That way, I will see you in the next video. Bye!